Hello guys, it is Gate of Theories here, and today we're just going to be discussing all about the Toy Story films, because who doesn't just love these films? And it's no lie that you haven't noticed a key theme throughout the Toy Story movies, and to be honest, all the Pixar movies in general. That is the ongoing theme of Lost the characters in these movies have to deal with. It's almost like the Pixar formula, I guess. And lots of Pixar movies deal with it in many ways, whether you're physically lost, like Lightning McQueen, or feel emotionally lost, like Miguel when he feels lost from his family, or even literally the title of the movie being about finding someone. I mean, come on, Pixar. Pixar always includes this theme Lost in every one of their movies, and right, they should. It's a great lesson for kids to learn, and adults for that matter. And no franchise does it better than the films that started Pixar off in the first place, the Toy Story films. I mean, it's definitely not a coincidence that the villain from Toy Story 3 is just spelt with Lost, but with the ST switched and an extra O added on the end. But either way, we are going to be discussing this theme of Lost in the Toy Story films throughout this video and seeing if we can find out any more about these characters and any more about this theme. But before we go any further, please make sure that you've clicked that red subscribe button down below and have your notifications turned on so that you don't miss any sort of video when we make a new video on all things Pixar. These films seem to always deal with two types of lost. Physically lost and emotionally lost. And even though the characters are living toys, you can't help but resonate with the toys' deep emotion when they do feel lost inside. And there's a lingering question with all this. What is a toy's true purpose in these films? What are they trying to achieve? And what really happens when they fulfill that purpose? So, firstly, let's dive into the physical aspects of Lost in these movies. Every movie is always about one or many toys being lost. In Toy Story 1, it was Woody and Buzz who were at Sid's house. Toy Story 2, it was Woody again. Toy Story 3, it was basically all the toys. And Toy Story 4, it was mainly Forky and Woody. Each film, however, takes on a different aspect of being physically lost, which just shows how rich in variety all these films are. In Toy Story 1, Woody and Buzz become lost by accident, and you can definitely sense the fear inside of Woody from being away from his owner, or maybe it's just a really creepy toys inside Sid's room, who knows. In Toy Story 2, Woody is basically kidnapped instead of accidentally being lost, and it shows the toys properly trying to search for Woody throughout the entire film. In Toy Story 3, the situation changes again. The toys literally choose to be away from Andy this time, but in doing so, they realise that they're lost without him. All three of these movies show us the toys being separate from their owner, and their main goal and motivation is always to get back to their owner once they realise that they are lost. Now, they can realise this very quickly, like in Toy Story 2, where the toys are straight on to try and save Woody as they've realised Al has took him and he is definitely lost. Or it can be a slow burner till they realise they're lost. Like in Toy Story 3 when they miss Andy and they realise they don't want to be at Sunnyside anymore. But all three movies basically share the similar aspect of you don't want to be a lost toy. Like, if you are lost, you need to get back to your owner very quickly. However, Toy Story 4 changes things slightly. Now, no matter what you think about this movie, whether you love it or you hate it, you have to admit the Toy Story trilogy didn't need another movie. No offense to Bo Peep, but I didn't really care much about what she was doing after Toy Story 3, and Toy Story 3 ended perfectly, with Andy finally realising that he wasn't lost without the toys. But more on that later. Toy Story 4, however, created something new. It shows that toys can be lost, and sometimes even want to be lost. Just like Bo Peep, she doesn't want an owner anymore. Instead, she thrives in being a lost toy and being, well, basically free from any owner. And this is where the theme of Lost comes with its question. What really is a toy's purpose? And I think it really depends on which toy. There's a line Bo Peep says in Toy Story 4 to Woody. It goes something like, would you prefer to make one huge impression on one kid? Or would you prefer to make hundreds of tiny little impressions on loads of kids? Which in Woody's case is, would he rather stick with the same kid like he always has, or will he ever learn to just let go? And this is where the main message from all 4 movies comes from, and it's a very effective and challenging message for anyone. If you think about Woody's whole journey throughout all 4 movies, his personality, his achievements and failures, there's always one thing that he strives for: being there for his kid, whether it's Andy who adores him or Bonnie who literally throws him in the cupboard. No matter what, he is stubborn and will never give up on the child. And Woody's whole story arc throughout these movies is simply, can he let go? Can you let go, or maybe do you want to be lost? Because the first 3 movies showed us that being lost is the worst thing for a toy, but then in the 4th movie, the toys Woody encounters absolutely love being lost. So what is it? Do they want to be lost, or do they not want to be lost? And this is where we can look at Woody's full story arc throughout all 4 movies, and this theme really gives us a better understanding of who Woody exactly is. Because Toy Story 4 was weird in another sense that it literally didn't include any of the other toys, but mainly just Woody. It was all about how Woody found himself, because inside, he was lost. Maybe the film should have just been called Woody, because, it doesn't involve any of the other toys. But either way, this franchise is called Toy Story, a single toy's story, and that toy is Woody. Woody begins his journey as Andy's favourite toy, and as soon as Buzz comes in, he is willing to go to the ends of the earth to return to his title of being Andy's favourite toy, and this is all for one reason. It may seem like he's being selfish, but the main reason is that he feels emotionally lost without Andy being there for him. This is shown in that heart-wrenching scene between Woody and Buzz, where Woody realises that he isn't going to be Andy's favourite toy any longer, and he's probably not even going to be able to return to Andy anymore, as Sid's going to go and get him. And throughout the entirety of this movie, we've seen Woody constantly always have one goal in mind: return to his owner Andy, because otherwise he is lost. However, at this moment, he just breaks. Woody may have been physically lost all this time, but here the emotion hits hard. He realizes he is lost inside, and it's through Buzz's change of mind that Woody is then re-motivated to try and get back to Andy. Now this all shows a deeper sense of lost. However, through overcoming it, Woody becomes a lot more stronger. In Toy Story 2, Woody is tested again with this theme of lost. At first, Woody deals with the trauma of not being good enough for Andy. At the start of the film, he can't even find his hat, and he worries that Andy isn't going to take him to cowboy camp. Then he loses his arm and he breaks it, and he gets terrible nightmares in a really freaky scene, I'm not gonna lie, where he thinks because he has lost his arm that Andy isn't going to want to play with him anymore, and he becomes even more emotionally lost without Andy being there, and fears what will happen if Andy doesn't like him anymore. And then, of course, later on in the movie, he finds out even more about himself, which is basically the complete contrast of what he was experiencing before. He realizes that all this time he has technically been lost from his original toy set with the other Woody's Roundup toys, and he sees who he is really meant to be, what he was really made for. Instead of becoming depressed, he begins to accept that he was lost all along, and even at one point wants to join the rest of the Roundup gang at the museum. He even doesn't want to return when Buzz arrives. Again, with Woody finding out he has been lost all this time, it makes himself question whether his purpose is to be played with by Andy, his owner, or to be on display like how he was originally made for, and whether playing with Andy will make him feel lost, or whether being on display will make him feel lost. And by Toy Story 3, Woody is the only toy who has really never gave up on Andy. The bond between them is so strong, and this is shown from Andy as well, when Andy only wants to keep Woody. The rest of the toys have accepted they need to move on, hence why they go to Sunnyside in the first place. But Woody is still in denial. He's in denial that Andy hasn't emotionally lost contact with his toys, even though inside, Woody knows himself that being played with is over by now. And it's from being played with Bonnie that he realizes his time with Andy is properly over. He has succeeded in his purpose to make his child happy, and now there's another child who he can make happy as well. He even realizes that being lost from Andy isn't necessarily a bad thing, as he has accepted he's fulfilled what Andy wants from Woody. So now, Woody won't feel lost anymore. Now that's all great and all, but then, if Woody has fully let go of Andy and realized he isn't lost anymore, then why in Toy Story 4 does he keep on mentioning Andy? It doesn't make any sense. This is why, personally, I believe as a trilogy it works better, as you get a nice story arc of Woody at the beginning, who feels like he has lost without Andy and needs to be back there to be his favourite toy, to by the end, simply letting go, as he knows he's not lost anymore without Andy and he can move on and so can Andy. But then, in Toy Story 4, there is countless occasions where he accidentally says Andy instead of Bonnie as his owner. And I know it's just Pixar probably just remembering an old favourite character, and maybe it would make sense because Woody has been neglected by Bonnie recently, but if Woody had truly let go of Andy, then he wouldn't have been saying his name by mistake anymore. And this is where my main dislike about Toy Story 4 is the ending. Now, we've basically just established that Woody's main purpose was not to feel lost from Andy. In other words, the toy's purpose is to make their owner happy and be there for them no matter what. Especially Woody, as he is a favourite toy. Andy even says when he is giving Bonnie the toys, he'll never give up on you, he'll be there for you no matter what. But from what we've seen in Toy Story 4, Woody isn't Bonnie's favourite toy, far from it. Woody still goes to all the efforts to make her happy, but in the end, he realises that Bonnie doesn't need him. She isn't lost without Woody, and Woody isn't lost without her. So, I do agree that Woody should have left like he did, but not exactly the way he did it. Not leave with Bo Peep, but leave to feel complete, and by that I mean, well, die. For years, people have theorised the only reason why toys come to life in the first place is through the love and imagination and memory of a child. And this is easily explained in Toy Story 4 by the fact that Forky, who wasn't a toy, is still well alive. And the reason for that is because of Bonnie's love and memories for Forky. And this is all to fulfill a toy's purpose, which we talked about before. The purpose of a toy is simply to make their owner not feel lost and to always be there for their owner no matter what. However, Bonnie isn't Woody's owner, not really. She doesn't even remember he's not there anymore when he leaves the festival. No, Woody's true owner is always Andy, and that was it. He was the favourite toy, and he had fulfilled his purpose. The reason why he was brought to life in the first place was because Andy needed a favourite toy. Even when Woody found out he belonged to a different life, he still returned back to Andy. And he was there with Andy all throughout his childhood, and when Andy let go of Woody, that meant Woody's time with Andy was complete. Woody had fulfilled his purpose in life. He had been Andy's favourite toy, he had been there for Andy all this time, and now Andy was letting him go because Woody's purpose had been fully completed. He tried to stay with Bonnie, but like we said, Bonnie didn't need him. So, I think how Toy Story 4 should have properly ended was Woody still leaves and still gives Jessie the sheriff badge and passes on basically the mantle, which is what I thought was a really nice touch. But then Woody go to the antique store, maybe sit up against the shelf and think about Andy, as really he'd never forgotten about him, as he kept on mentioning him. Then, from now fully letting go of Bonnie and Andy, he's realised he has fulfilled his purpose. And because of that, he isn't lost anymore. So he smiles and gradually begins to freeze in the position he does when humans are there, and he never unfreezes again, as this version of Woody has fulfilled its purpose. His life is complete, and now it's time to end. Rex even says at the end of Toy Story 4, "Does this mean Woody's a lost toy?" And Buzz says, "He's not lost anymore." In other words, he is complete. It would make the ending way more emotional, not just for the toys, but for the audience as well, especially those who have grown up with this franchise, and it's a great lesson for kids. If you're lost, find your purpose, and then you won't be lost anymore, and you'll feel fully complete. And that's why I really think Woody should have either died or froze in his position, because no child needed him anymore. He'd fulfilled his purpose, he'd been there for his owner Andy, and now Andy had moved on. Woody didn't need to feel lost anymore because he'd done everything he needed to do, and now he felt complete and could just find peace. But no. Instead, Woody decides he wants to be lost for some reason and go with Bo Peep, who he hasn't seen for years, and leave Buzz and then go be a lost toy and help other toys find owners. I get what? Like, I guess that works in the way that Woody realizes as a toy you don't need an owner, but then why is he getting other toys' owners? Oh, it doesn't make sense, that ending. It doesn't work for Woody's character. I honestly think the ending where Woody might have died that we just discussed would have been a much better ending, would have been more emotional, would have worked, but no, instead they've decided to just replace it with Woody goes off with Bo Peep, who he hasn't seen for years. It really is a shame because Pixar lost out on something amazing, or they should have just left it as a trilogy, because otherwise, now Woody's story arc is he felt lost at the beginning when he was without Andy, but now he's okay with leaving an owner, but then still wants to get other toys' owners. It doesn't make any sort of sense. But anyway, guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure that you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tell us in the comment section down below what you think about this whole theme of Lost in Toy Story, because the franchise has dealt with Lost in so many ways, physically lost, emotionally lost. And what do you think of the character Woody? Because all of his story arc throughout these 4 movies is all about, is he lost inside, and where can he feel properly complete? And why don't down there you also say whether you agree with how you think I thought it should have ended. Do you think it should have ended with Woody dying, or maybe just Woody walking away? Or do you think that it should have ended the way that it did? Make sure you leave all your thoughts down below in the comments section. And also, while you're down there, tell us whether you like this sort of idea of a video, and whether you want us to look at any more things about being lost in Pixar. Maybe you want us to look at the theme of Lost in Pixar as a whole, because Pixar just loves this idea of Lost. But anyway, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you later. We'll be right back.